Yeah. Okay. Okay, record is good. How are you, my friends? Been a long time.
Hello, Homer. It was very nice to see you and
Well,
to finally
I'm
talk to you as a one-to-one.
so,
Yeah.
oh my God. So thanks for accepting my effort today for music interview, my friend, as a Hypercube. It's an honor to me to write about you, greeting from Iraq, and the same 8 questions I send it to you. But before we start our interview, I want to say thanks to a few people. The first one, you, for accepting for music interview and allow me. That's a great honor today, my friend. So the second person is my closest friend is Farouk Adel. Farouk Adel, he disappeared in 2019. I don't know anything about him, but now he's work as a music teacher and he's also my teacher. So what? Want me to know? So Rodrigo, should I pre-start?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we okay? Yeah.
Okay, so my friend Farouk Adel disappeared in 2019. I don't know anything. I know him from 6 years. He graduated from Art Academy in Iraq. So he invited me to play electronic music in that time because in 2017 and 2018 we discovered that field, as you know. And I don't know in that time anything about the electronic music, but he sent me a lot of artists, a lot of producers, Brian Eno, Biosphere, Lawrence English, a lot of great arts of avant-garde, ambient. In that time, I don't know anything about the ambient music or electronic music. So pardon me if I had any mistakes in English because I sleep today just 2 hours. So maybe I can't focus on my words. Okay. Well, in that time, I start to play electronic music. I don't have any PC. In 2019, I just have an iPad Pro. So the first album I created in 2019 is World of Trees, some glitch on ambient. I created using iPad. I don't have any PC at that time. So the first DAW when I purchased to a minimal requirement computer is the Acid Pro. It's very good DAW when I start making electronic music. After that, I jumped to Ableton 9, studying some theories of music. I have more knowledge in music theory because I do that all by myself. No one teach me. So in Iraq, no one study electronic music. No one know this kind of field. Just me and Farouk Adel who start. We together share the same art in Iraq. And yes, I started with Ableton Live 10. At that time, I was maybe a beginner in 2019. I don't have anything because I work in 1 year by myself, sleeping just in week 2 hours, 3 hours, just work on music, studying sound design, Max for Life, Ableton, and more. I'm using VST plugins just like Ozone and Serum, Diva, a lot of VST plugins. So as you know, in that time, my level is not very excellent because I don't have much knowledge in electronic music. After that, day by day, I developed myself to create good music. So Farouk Adel, he's the one who inspired me in that field of electronic music. I thank him. Thank you, Farouk Adel, for everything. So the second person is Cedric Formant. You know it's Cedric Formant.
Of
Cedric
course. Yeah. Of
Formant
course I do.
is
We,
very,
we
very interesting artist. I love him so much. I love his type
yes.
of music. Thank you, Cedric
Yes.
Formant, because you speak about me in the last Collaboradio in 2021 in December. Speak about the Iraqi
Yes.
artist, speak about me and Farouk Adel. Thank you so much. I wish I would meet him in Sulaimani one day. So sorry for my words because I'm very tired
It's
today.
okay.
I'm very confused because this is my third live interview. I grade this series of live interview because it's very important to me to understand each other, to communicate with each other. And it's very important to me as an artist to discover the artists around the world, to write about them, their type of music, not just electronic music. I interest all field in electronic, all field in art, sorry. Okay, so my questions here on my phone. So I will go to discover that. Okay. Okay. So first question, my friends. Should we start?
Of course we can.
Okay. I'm very sorry because I'm very confused. This is my third live music interview.
Don't
Okay.
worry. Don't
Okay.
worry. We're just having a conversation.
Okay.
So that's the way I
So,
see.
okay. And Rodrigo, can you tell me how you start making electronic music, how to become a composer at that time? Can you tell me about your story in electronic music? And
Okay.
your turn.
All right. So just to get back to what you just said earlier, that you started in 2019. Now, I started in 96. So it took me a long time to get what I am. So
Of course, of course.
what I'm trying to say to you, just give yourself your time, the time that it needs. Don't worry about it. Actually, now you're more likely to learn quicker than 20, 30 years ago, because obviously we have access to many tutorials on the internet, and the
Yes, of course.
programs are obviously easier. But anyway, I started in 1996 as Hypercube, but I started making music in the mid 80s. So we're talking about 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. I had my first single release on vinyl in 1989. But as Hypercube, I started in 1996 because that was my solo project. And at the time, I used to live in Denmark. So I was in
Yes.
Copenhagen, Denmark, and that's where I started. And I had my first debut album in 1996. Actually, yes. Sorry, to be precise, I started in 1994, and then the first debut album was in 1996, and that came out with Cleopatra. It was a big label at the time. It actually was sub label called Hypnotic, but it's run by Cleopatra. And to give you an understanding of the label at the time used to have Future Sound of London and some other bands of that level. So I was quite kind of happy to start at a good point. So that's how I started making music as Hypercube. I was already playing with different bands, different projects, but I wanted to have a solo project that was purely experimental, and that's how I started basically.
Good career. Very nice. I like it. So, do you like rock and metal music?
Yes, I do. In fact, I do. My origins are not electronic. I used to listen to progressive rock. I used to listen to symphonic
My
rock.
favorite. My favorite.
Yeah, progressive rock is great. And I also used to listen for a period in the 90s. I was listening to bands like Anthrax. Like proper heavy stuff all the way throughout the 90s. So yeah, I do like rock. I mean, heavy rock,
Heavy metal. Heavy
hardcore,
metal.
heavy metal. Yes, proper
Hardcore. Yeah.
hardcore metal. I like that stuff. I like progressive rock because it's got so many changes and variations and unpredictable compositions and very clever as well. And also the recording process in those days was kind of advanced for the time. Let's not forget in the early 70s when progressive rock was pretty much the time. Music was still recorded in mono, so for a period, and then of course, then it became stereo. So they had to place the different instruments on different channel just to recreate some kind of movement into the speakers. So there was a lot of work behind the production, the mixing, and when you listen now after all these years, you realize how great it was. So I definitely come from that background, and of course, electronic music took over a lot in my own life in the 80s. Bands like Kraftwerk, Tangerine
Oh,
Dream, they obviously been
that
my
German band. Yes.
German techno, yes.
Yes. Yes.
German electronic, synth pop,
Yes.
and
Yes. I know that band.
yeah, Berlin school music, yeah.
Well, for me, I discovered the rock and metal in 2011. So I like hard, heavy metal and death metal, thrash metal, technical
Mm.
brutal death metal. And that time I decided to create a band with a few people. Me, a guitarist, because Faruk Adel teach me guitar how to play acoustic and electric. So in that time, Faruk Adel told me, "You are failed, man." So I am failed, my friend Faruk. Your future in electronic music. Leave the metal, leave the rock, start to learn DAW and making your music. Okay, should we jump to the second question? So I'm very
Yeah, sure,
confused.
sure.
I'm very confused
No,
today and
don't
tired.
worry, don't
Okay,
worry.
I'm
Take it
very
easy.
sorry. I'm very sorry.
No, don't worry.
Okay, okay. So, what made you want to become a musician?
Yeah, I think from the very beginning there was some kind of need um, for explorations. So I felt like that I needed to explore and to kind of how can I say, to kind of like wake up some conscious, the thinking that we have within ourselves. It was a way to kind of bring to life elements of like social system, chaos,
Solar system.
like inner journeys, and it was like distant, complex realities. So it was all this, this kind of feelings that I felt, that I had at the time, and still.
Okay, let's continue. Let's continue our journey. I'm very excited today. I'm very happy. It's an honor to me. So the third question, do you have any hobbies or interest outside of music?
Oh yeah, sure. Yes, I think that actually I started making music because the first thing I was doing as a child, I was listening. I was listening to radio. Shortwave radios has been my hobby or passion since I was like 8, 9 years old. So I've been listening to shortwave radios from different countries around the world. So that was one of the things. And then sometime when you listen to shortwave radios, you kind of end up listening to like 2, 3 melodies at the same time, which are coming and going. So you get into kind of like a trance state of mind. So I think was the very first experience of a sonic experience of something away from the standard music that you listen normally, commercial music. So that's how I think I began to feel the need or the interest. Actually, I began to have an interest for music that it was experimental or ambient, because listening to shortwave radio as well, you do get sometime into those ambient mode, because it's a mixture of noise, mixture of waveforms and distant radios that they take you into a dimension that is typical of ambient music. And then 15 years ago, I decided to take it one step forward. So I actually decided to study and take the license as a radio amateur. So I took the 2 steps, the 2 license for radio transmissions as a radio amateur. So I do have a radio station as well. And obviously I've been doing a lot of experimentation with antenna for transmission and receptions. And so I've been doing that as a hobby alongside the music, but I think the 2 things are kind of related. And then of course I also do other things like gardening, stuff that you need to do at home.
Very nice. Okay, so should we jump to question 4?
Sure, anytime.
Okay. What kind of music gear you used and why? Your music gear.
Okay, so basically, when I started making music, obviously the studios were pretty much analog studios. So I come from that reality, the typical studio, like an analog mixer, analog synthesizers, and effect processor, and all that, everything hardware. So that's my origins. Then with the time, as the software was getting better and better, was like 20 years ago, started getting better. At some point, slowly, I've been reducing my hardware, and I went more and more into software. So at the moment, I only use software, and basically, I use Apple Logic Pro X as a sequencer, as a DAW, and then I use mainly Reactor. I use Metasynth, FM. Synthesizers. I use other VST synthesizer, a little bit more common. I use Serum as well, and Reactor blocks, Absinthe, Laser Bass. Basically, I use mainly FM synths. The analog software synthesizer are mainly for like layering in a way. Obviously with Hypercube, with other projects, I use different type of synthesizers depending on the project. But with Hypercube, I try to maintain a specific FM frequency modulation synthesizer that to have a specific sound. Obviously, there's a lot of sound designing behind those synths because they are not easy. They take time to learn, and to sound with the sound design takes quite a bit of time with FM. But that's what I normally use. So I do have some modular as well, but in a software version as well.
Modular software, just like VCV Rack.
No, no, I don't use VCV rack. I use modular with the reactor.
Reactor 6
Yes, yes, I
from
use. Yes,
maybe instrument, naive instrument, right?
it's the blocks. It's the blocks where you can. The blocks are like they're like modulars. You know, you can move them around in a way. You know, put them together in a way just like you would do in a normal modular. You know,
So
like
do
hardware
you
modular.
like analog synthesizer or digital synthesizer? What is your favorite?
Uh, I like both. I like both, and I think depending on what you do, some are better used for the circumstances that you're using. So again, if I'm doing synth pop, 80s synth wave music, then obviously I'll be using analog synthesizers. If I'm doing experimental music as Hypercube, or I need some specific clean pad, clean harmonies, very clean, bright sound, then obviously I'll be using FM synthesizers, digital synthesizers.
Very interesting. I like analog synthesizer and digital synthesizer. I like both, but I'm using VST plugins software and DAW.
Yeah, so it's all digital in a sense. It's all software, but obviously some software are emulating the analog synths, and some software are emulating the FM, like
I
the
need to improve
X7 type.
myself with FM synthesis and mastering. A lot of things I want to do.
Yes, it
Yes,
takes time. It takes time,
of course.
but I mean, talking about, I mean, obviously, I've known your music, and I can say I've already said to you also before this. I mean, I can see that you have progressed a lot in the last year and a
So,
half. So,
what do you think, my friend, for musical
mm.
production, Windows or Mac? What's the better?
I've always been using Mac, always, all my life.
No lag,
So
no crash, no freeze,
no,
nothing.
no, no, I don't have any of that problems. Zero, zero. I mean, I think in the last 5 years, I might have had one crash. And that was just a case of restarting the computer, and that was it. That's
So
it. And I,
do you use the Intel Core i7 or M1 processor? Because
no,
Apple
I'm still
released
an old
M1
processor.
processor.
I'm still on an old processor, the previous processor.
The Intel Core i7.
Yes, that's correct. But one thing that I try to do, I'm very minimalistic with the use of software. I have just what I need, just what's necessary. I don't want to overdo it, because otherwise that's where the problems start. And then I do also, from time to time, once I have finished a certain amount of music, songs, or composition, I just transfer them into an hard disk, and then I keep the computer clear as much as I can. So yeah, so very minimalistic. Just have the essential. Keep hard disk clear. When you don't need stuff, just they go into a hard disk, separate external hard disk. So I try to keep the computer as much as possible healthy, in a healthy position, and
So
that
what
seems
do
to
you
be.
think? What do you think? A 16 gigabyte of RAM or 32 gigabyte of RAM for music?
Well, obviously with memory and the RAM, and I mean the more you have, the better it is. It's no doubt. You can obviously then it's obvious. I mean, more powerful is the computer, and more you can do in terms of opening up certain programs and so on. The other thing is that I also tend not to do is to upgrade the operating system. I keep an operating system that was relevant to that period. When the computer was made and was released, and I don't upgrade the operating system, because I'm a bit concerned that would create some problems, a compatibility problem, and also I'm a bit concerned that the computer itself won't be able to run smoothly with an advanced operating system. So once I get an operating system that works well with that issue, with that computer, I mean, with the computer how it was from the fact when it was made through the factory, that's pretty much it. So yeah, so that's it. I haven't done any operating system upgrade for like 5 years now, 4 years.
I'm thinking to purchase iMac 2021 with M1 processor. Maybe it's good for
Yeah,
music production. Yes, I will purchase it maybe in December or in October.
Yes, I mean, I got Mac Mini. Is a very tiny Mac, and I remember at the time a lot of people were saying, "Is this going to be good?" And it's been good for me. I've even done videos. Obviously, with videos, it's like a different story. Videos, you need a very powerful computer, and I do struggle sometimes when I'm rendering or when I'm using HD files. But it's something that I was expecting anyway because the computer is not powerful enough to do HD video like 4K. I mean, I can do it, and I've done that, but it does struggle a little bit. But with music, I've had no problems so far. I've had no problem, but I do know my limitation, and that's I think is the key point here, is to know your limitation. Where there's a point where you have to say, okay, I can't go any further than that. It's going to create a problem. So you stop there.
Okay. Should we jump to question 5?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Who's your favorite artist or person you look up in the industry? Your favorite artist?
Yes, well, there are obviously quite a lot, quite a few artists. I mean, as we said earlier,
Avant-garde, ambient,
psychedelic rock music, psychedelic music in general, Pink Floyd, from the origins, that were the bands that I was listening when I was a child, when I was a kid.
Pink Floyd?
Yeah, yes, I was listening to Pink Floyd and Tangerine Dream and all that.
David Gilmour, the guitarist and the vocalist.
Yeah, it's quite amazing, yeah. And
masterpiece.
then it is. I mean, still now when you listen to it, it's like, wow. Then in the 80s, I started listening to more of electronic music. And at the time, there was a lot of bands. There was obviously Kraftwerk, I mean, Depeche Mode. You had
a lot of bands.
There was a lot of bands.
Tons of bands. Yes, much
a lot of bands. So I was listening to quite a few. I was listening to a band called Devo as well from the States, which was quite hilarious and at the same time interesting for the show as well. So there was a lot going on. So I was listening to electronic music throughout the 80s, and of course new wave as well, dark music as well. So there's quite a few artists. A can't pinpoint one, as I say, Kraftwerk, Pink Floyd, Depeche Mode, Tangerine Dream. I would say that
Aphex Twin.
Yes, Aphex Twins and bands like Aphex Twins, Otek, they came later. I mean, Aphex Twins, I got to know Aphex Twins more like in probably mid-90s, but I got to know Otek only a few years ago. Interestingly, when people were saying to me sometime, I've had listeners and friends saying, oh, Hypercube reminds me a bit of Otek. But to be honest with you, at the time, I didn't even know Otek. Didn't even know who they were. So we were doing something like in parallel, I guess. But I didn't know that band at all. I only got to know them recently, in the past 10 years, maybe.
So what do you think about the carbon-based life forms, Sabian, Chill Out?
Sorry?
What do you think of the band Carbon-Based Life Forms?
Oh yes. Is that a Future Sound of London? No. I think it is.
They are from Swedish, I think.
Okay. No, okay. Then it's yes. I mean, it rings a bell, but at the moment I can't picture exactly which band it is. But I think it's more like ambient, electronic, and a little bit of trance. Is that one? I think.
My favorite.
Yes.
Carbon-based life forms. The tone of music, but just like the overspace.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because I did have there was for quite for a few years I was pretty much into trance music as well, psychedelic trance music, and I was playing with a band as well which used to play that kind of music, and we did a lot of concerts, and this is how I ended up in London actually, because I signed a deal at the time, 1998, here in London with a company called Blue Room. And that's how I end up here. But so I kind of remember very well the trance music, the psychedelic trance scene or trance scene. And then, it's been, I mean, there was bands like also The Orb they were more like into ambient anyway. But there was a good scene in that period in the 90s as well. Yeah.
So, okay, the question 6. So do you think anyone can be a musical artist?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I think anyone can be a musical artist. At the end of the day, if you have an inspiration to do that, the tools are there. So it's just a matter of giving yourself some time to learn the basics and then have some ideas, obviously some interesting ideas.
By the experiment, we learn by the
Yes,
experiment.
yes.
Much
So
experiments.
it's I mean, think about it. Now you can download softwares like sequencers for free, so you can actually start for free, which is quite amazing. It wasn't like this.
Yes,
I
I
mean, I
like
remember
sponsors.
I bought my first Apple Logic in 1999, and I paid at the time over £600. It's a lot of money, believe me, for
Yes,
the
I know.
time.
No, I know.
And I
It's
still
very
have it.
expensive.
I still have the original software with discs and a memory stick, like a USB dongle. So I still have it. Where now you can actually download software for free. So for anyone who want to start, yes, they can start. The tools are there. As long as you have the ideas and have a bit of patience in learning the process and obviously checking the tutorials and talk to people and get involved with other musicians. I think pretty much anyone can do it.
So, what is your mastering secret? Your tone in mastering, unbelievable. No crash, no lag, no freeze,
You know
high quality.
something? You know what I'm doing right now?
what? What? I don't.
I mean, right now, in a sense, after this, before and after this interview, I'm actually mastering an EP for
Okay,
somebody
send it
else,
to me.
for a
Send it to
friend.
me. When
Uh,
you finish, send it to me. I want to
Once it's
listen.
ready, obviously, it's not my music. Is I'm doing a mastering for another project, so obviously I can't send that to you. But once it's ready, once it is available, obviously it will be there out there. But yes, what I do is for me, mixing and mastering are like day and night. So when I mix something with a concept in mind on how it's going to be mastered after. So what I'm saying is, when I finish a track that has been mixed and then I do the mastering, that's pretty much never the end of it. Very often I have to go back to the mixing so that the mastering works better. So the two things work together. So there's this symbiosis between the two. So I do a mixing and then I do the mastering, and then I realize, okay, maybe this volume needs to go down or this needs to go up, or this bass like this. Because when you master, you are enhancing everything. And then that means you're exposing the good and the bad. So it's a good time to realize, okay, these things, instead of trying to work it out in the mastering, I better go back to the mix and adjust into the mix, so that when I go back to the mastering, it will be okay. So there's this in and out, this process that goes on between mix and mastering that is never smooth. It always happens 4, 5, 6, 10 times that I go back and forth until I get it right. So that is the first thing that I do. Second thing, I think I've learned where things should be visually and sonically. So I know where more or less the frequency that shouldn't be there, what should be enhanced, and I do have an understanding of volumes. I don't particularly go for extreme loud volume mastering. I don't think that's a good idea. I try to preserve dynamics in each channel of the mixer as much as I can, and that all that put together, it creates a nice dynamic mastering that is not too loud, that is not too on your face, that is not squashed, it's still alive, and it sounds okay. I mean, this is what I do. Obviously, I don't just use one program for mastering. I use a couple of programs at the same time, just so that the
What
two
kind of a program you used, Rodrigo?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Nothing special. I use Ozone 7 as the main mastering.
Ozone 7, not Ozone 9. Just
No,
7?
sorry, Ozone 9. Sorry, Ozone 9. Sorry.
Yes,
The
yes.
latest one, yeah. Sorry, did I say 7?
Okay, not problem.
Ozone 9, the latest one that came. Well, I think it was 1 year ago. So I use Ozone 9 as a main master. Obviously, the tracks are -6, -8 dB, so they are kind of pretty low in volume, so there's enough for me to work. And then I use a limiter after that, like an adaptive limiter after that. But that just to give that little edge, because Ozone 9 in itself, it's okay. But sometimes I feel like that is missing a little bit of density. So I use an adaptive limiter from Logic Pro X, which is pretty good, just to give 1 or 2 dB. This is all 1 or 2 dB of density. So I don't use any programs to warm up the file, the audio, or that there's so many software out there, compressor that you can use after or whatever in between. I don't do that because Ozone 9 in itself already has a chain of modules that you're using. So you got equalizer, dynamic processors, volume. So
It's very good
already in
software.
there.
I use it.
You use it as well, so
But I use it in the crack version.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
It's very important if you use the stereo enhancer, on Ozone 9 as well as any other stereo width enhancer. It's very important that you enhance not all frequency, only certain frequency. You don't want to have too much stereo into your bass, for example. That will, the bass will disappear. This is just a very simple example. So you need to know these things. You need to know where to target things properly at the right spot. And it's a learning process. It's not that I have done any particular training on this. I've learned with the time and with checking the tutorials and so on.
Very interesting. So, okay, question 7. What is your main inspiration?
Actually, I like nature in general. I like technology. Obviously, I like science, artificial intelligence. I like anything that has to do with social systems.
Just like me.
Yeah, so I'm interested from things from the science perspective to the natural nature perspective as well. So I like actually, I do get interested in checking objects at close, very close. When you look at an object at a very, very close, it's almost like discovering something, another reality. It's a bit like when you're trying to look at, trying to search for stars or planets in a galaxy. It's the same thing when you check something at a very, very close object in microscopes and stuff like that. So I like that kind of stuff as well. And sounds in general, you get sounds from not just from the music that we know. You can get you hear sounds sometimes from nature as well, which are interesting as well.
Okay. So the last question. So what strength do you have that you believe make you a great musician?
I don't know if it's a strength. I don't know if I got any strength. No, well, I'm very focused. I'm pretty focused on what I do. I kind of learned method, obviously, after all this time, and that keeps me focused. Very rarely I get lost or confused in what I'm doing. So that obviously in itself is a strength. What else? I think I find myself to be like I have so much creativity inside that never ends. So that's why I'm involved in 4 or 5 projects at the same time, all different style, because I can't imagine me doing just one thing. And all this, I do this because I have a lot of ideas, a lot of creativity that I want to express. Whatever happens after, it doesn't matter. Wherever it's going, if it's going to be successful or not, it doesn't matter.
You're so much great.
It's just important that you are expressing that feelings and you are reflecting their creativity. So that is what I find it to be. Obviously, the difficulties is sometimes, well, often is try to combine this with work life, family life, and the rest, because I spend quite a bit of time in the music making, and sometimes, I think sometimes I am leaving the rest of the world behind. So you know what I mean. But anyway,
I know.
so beside that, beside that, luckily I have a family who understands that. I mean, obviously I try to keep a balance. But again, yes, I got a lot to offer, I think, in terms of creativity, and I've learned how to do how to work the industry. Obviously, we're not talking about commercial music here. That's a completely different industry, completely different way to work. We're talking about underground music, experimental music, ambient, trance, or whatever. So music that is
Very interesting genre.
within this, at our level, basically. So and of course, even something like this, interviews, in an interview like this, it's part of this process. This is an important thing. I've had an
Yes, music
interview.
interview is very important
I've
to
had another
understand.
interview. It is important, yes. I had another one just a couple of days ago in Italian. It was in Italian, which was pretty good. I was very pleased with that. And so yes, so here we are.
Okay. So I'm very happy today, very excited. Thanks for everything, Hypercube, for allowing me to make interview with you. It's an honor to me today to write about you. And thank you so much for everything. Maybe in the future, you and I'm thinking to making music together, share it together, making our experiment together. Thank you so much. Greeting from Iraq. I will share this video. Thank you so much. See you soon.
It's nice for you to invite me, and I know you're starting as well in terms of interviews, and I felt it was important for me to do this with you. And of course, I'm always around for anything. If you need any support, I'll be around. No problem.
You're a great person.
Okay.
I love you so much. Much respect and love.
Same to you.
Okay. Thank you
Okay,
so much, Rodrigo.
You're welcome, my friend. Talk soon, yeah?
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you so much. Bye bye.